Hi, everybody. Come on in. Make yourselves at home, and we will get started shortly. Good afternoon, everybody. Come on in. We'll let people get logged in here, and we will begin shortly. Again, good afternoon, everybody. We're just getting set up here. We'll give people a couple of minutes to get logged in, and we will begin shortly. Y'all, just wanted to have my video on to greet you all and say hi, and thanks for joining us today. And I hope you're keeping cool, because man, it got hot in August, didn't it? We were spoiled most of the summer. Stop sharing for just a second here, folks. I need to do a setting real quick. Okay, now. Bear with me and okay. If you would, give me a quick hand raise and let me know that you can see my presentation screen. I had to reset some Zoom settings. So if you can see my screen, give me a quick hand up in your control panel. Okay, good. Thank you. And also, if you would, raise your hands real quick and let me know if you can hear me okay, because we did have some connectivity issues today as well. So I just want to make sure that everybody can hear me okay. Excellent. All kinds of hands going up. Thank you very much for that. All right. So it's about 2:04. I'm going to go ahead and stop my video. Again, thank you for joining us today, you guys. Appreciate your time today. A little bit of background on why we're having this webinar. DIR is participating in a series of events with the Governor's Small Business Summits, where they go around to different parts of Texas, and the governor's office talks with businesses about how to do business with the state of Texas in general. DIR participates in those from the technology standpoint. So we actually have staff in Odessa right now who attended the Governor's Small Business Summit in Odessa. And then in the afternoons, we kind of like to just bring our customers together to do a training and talk with you guys about how you can utilize DIR for your IT procurements. For your technology needs. So we're kind of regionally doing this today in and around the Odessa Midland area. We've got a couple of folks from Houston on with us, and we've got a couple of folks from Austin online with us today as well, because they wanted to participate. And our audience today is typically procurement and business officials and technology folks from local governments, higher ed, school districts, and other eligible entities who are able to procure information technology products and services through DIR. So we're going to spend the next 13 hours or so talking about DIR. No, I'm kidding. The next couple hours, just kind of running through some things. This may be a refresher for some of you. It may be new information for some of you. So again, thanks for joining us today. So let's go ahead and get started. As an agency, DIR, or the Department of Information Resources, is responsible for a lot of things when it comes to information technology. We've got our IT procurement and contracting area. That's where our cooperative contracts program lies. That allows you, our customers, to go buy your information technology products and services through our co-op vendors. We've got our shared technology division program at DIR. That's where we do it for you. You tell us the service you need, and we go get that service done on your behalf. We're also responsible for a lot of data management functions for the state of Texas. And part of that is the open data portal, which allows you to post electronic data out to the general public. We're going to talk about that today. We also handle the texas.gov portal. So if you've ever been online to renew your auto registration or to buy a hunting or fishing license, that portal allows all of us to do business with the state of Texas when we need to do that. We also provide technology leadership. We set IT standards for the state of Texas, and as a resource to your entities and helping you set IT standards for your entities as well. We also offer communication technology services or telecom services. I'll talk a little bit more about those today in a little bit. And then, of course, keeping the state safe. Cybersecurity is a large responsibility of what DIR is responsible for in making sure the state and you, our customers, are kept safe. This is a little of my background. I've been with the state for 15 years now. Came to DIR in 2011 from TRS. There's an agency that many of you are familiar with. And I've had a lot of opportunities to do a lot of different things at DIR. So I've had a great career path here. And now I do outreach and training to both our customer community on how to utilize DIR, as well as our vendor community on how to do business with DIR. I've also got Teresa Williamson on with us today. Teresa is our hub director, and she is also representing DIR today. So today, I'm going to talk briefly about some procurement. I'm going to give you a little bit of the DIR background. Then we're going to take a deeper dive into our program areas. That includes our shared technology services, our cooperative contracts, show you a demo on how to search the DIR website. We'll talk about some tips for writing an IT statement of work. And then tips for managing that agreement with that DIR vendor when you use our co-op contracts. We'll talk about hub opportunities. We'll talk briefly about cybersecurity training requirements. And then we'll wrap up and leave you with some resources. And if you do have questions as I go along today, feel free to open your Q&A box and put your questions in there, and we will definitely take time to get those answered today. So let's start with talking about a couple of quick statutes for procurement methods and kind of what defines DIR. We use the RFO method to procure AIS or Automated Information Systems and Information Technology Services. Quite similar to the RFP process, but RFOs are typically used for more larger, complex type procurements, which of course IT is part of that. All of our DIR contracts are competitively bid, and all of our contracts are awarded in accordance with statute as set forth by the legislature. Then our cooperative contracts program allows you, our customers, to order directly with those DIR vendors by issuing a PO directly to that vendor with the DIR vendor contract number noted on your POs. Our agency follows Government Codes 2157.068 for IT products and services and 2170 for telecom services. For you procurement professionals, you can also reference the Procurement and Contract Management Guide for a little bit more information on procurement methods utilized in today's world. So this is a little bit about DIR. If you could take us and split us into 4 categories, this is kind of what our service delivery would look like. First of all, our agency was created in 1989. And if you remember 1989, that's kind of when technology started changing all of our lives on how we did business and how we lived. And paper was starting to kind of go away at that point. So through an act of the legislature, they created DIR. And our main purpose is to serve as the Chief Information Office for the state of Texas. On the upper right, I'll start with our cooperative contracts. This is kind of the do-it-yourself or the self-service model of IT procurements that allow you, our customers, to go buy things like hardware items, software as a service. There are also services-based contracts, including our deliverables-based IT services contracts. I'll talk a little bit more about those later. We've got IT staffing services. I'll talk a little bit more about those. And then it gives us the opportunity from time to time to initiate what we call short-term bulk purchasing opportunities. When we know that certain IT products or services are in very high demand from our DIR customers, we're going to take that information into consideration and attempt to negotiate shorter-term bulk purchasing opportunities where those products and services are going to be offered at yet deeper discounts as compared to the regular contract discount. So, for example, let's say that we know that Health and Human Services needs to order 4,000 new computers. We also know that Bexar County needs to order 3,000 new computers. We're going to take that information back to our computer vendor contract holders and attempt to negotiate a short-term bulk purchasing opportunity where those products are going to be offered at yet deeper discounts. They're kind of what we call our Kmart blue light specials because they're short-lived. It could be 3 months, could be 6 months, whatever we negotiate with those vendors. So for example, a Dell laptop that is currently 25% off of MSRP on the Dell contract, if it's on a bulk purchasing opportunity, that Dell laptop might be offered at 40% off of MSRP, but it's only going to be for a short amount of time. So I've got a slide a little bit. I'll show you what we've currently got available. We also offer communication services through DIR. We manage the Capitol Complex telephone system for agencies in and around the Capitol building here in Austin, as well as the Capitol building itself. We provide internet and network security operations, making sure that those networks are kept safe from those bad actors. And then, of course, like I said, security operations in general just makes up a large responsibility of making sure that the state is kept safe. Then our shared technology services program, on the opposite side of co-op where you do it yourself, under our shared technology services program, this is where we do it for you. So it is required that agreements be on file with DIR, with your entities to utilize the shared technology services, but it's as easy as logging into a portal, you tell us the service you need, and we go get it done for you. So we've negotiated contracts with vendors for things like data center services. That includes public cloud and private cloud offerings. This is also where the texas.gov portal lies at DIR. And then again, that portal allows all of us to do business with the state. We also have the Texas Open Data Portal, and that's the official state repository of publicly available electronic data. And then we also offer managed security services through this program as well, and I'm going to take a little bit deeper dive into those. Then, of course, we handle policy and planning. We do an IT strategic plan for the state of Texas. What is that for the next year? What about 3 years, 5 years down the road, doing that more longer term strategic plan? We provide IT standards for the state, as well as be a resource to you, our customers, in helping you set IT standards for your entities. And then, of course, you know, the ledge always wants to know what's going on. So we're always busy reporting on the state of technology to the legislature as well. With session coming up again starting in January, we're going to be equally heavy with that in the coming months. So who are DIR's eligible customers? Who can buy IT products and services through us? Well, Texas state agencies and institutions of higher education, there's about 183 eligible entities in Texas. Local governments, there's over 6,200 eligible entities, cities, counties, school districts, municipalities, junior colleges, special purpose districts, water districts, political subdivisions, and so on. Then there are other organizations who are also eligible to procure IT products and services through our contract offerings. That includes assistance organizations as defined by the Comptroller's Office. So some of you on with us today are members of the Texas Smart Buy program. That makes you an eligible DIR customer. ERCOT, LCRA, private schools, including charter schools, private higher ed, volunteer fire departments, public safety entities like 911 centers, hospitals. Boy, we all know the medical industry carries a high degree of IT about it anymore. And then we've also got a large number of public entities located outside of Texas who When they have an interstate cooperation contract agreement on file with us, they are then also eligible to buy information technology products and services through our cooperative contracts. That includes state agencies, local governments, school districts, and public institutions of higher ed located outside of Texas. So let's take a bit deeper dive into our shared technology services program at DIR. And a lot of your entities here today are already using these services through DIR, but I want to kind of just give you an overview of what this program is all about and how your entities can benefit from utilizing our shared technology services. This is the program where it is required for this program that you do have an agreement on file with DIR. But it's once you get those agreements on file with us, it's as easy as logging into a portal. You tell us the service you need, and then we go get that service done for you on your behalf. So this kind of shows you how our shared technology services program is modeled. We've negotiated a contract with a multi-sourcing services integrator, or an MSI. That vendor is Capgemini. And Capgemini kind of acts as the overall program manager of our shared technology services, as well as the vendors and the services that those vendors provide through this program. So Capgemini kind of handles the customer relationship part, the business and operations management, the marketplace management, things like that. Then the specific offerings available include things like data center services. That includes private cloud offerings, public cloud offerings. It includes mainframe support services for our customers who are utilizing mainframes in their IT worlds. It offers technology solution services. There are print, mail, and digitization services available. And then security operations is part of this program, making sure that the state's data centers are kept safe. The Texas.gov portal is part of this program at DIR. That includes a constituent payment portal, the Texas by Texas digital assistant that allows you to log in on your cell phone to access services through that portal. This portal allows all of us to do business with the state. So this is where we can renew our auto registrations or buy licenses or renew cosmetology or massage therapy licenses, things like that. Then we've also got managed security services available that a lot of local governments and school districts and agencies and higher ed use to make sure that their systems are kept safe. And then this program also includes the Texas Open Data Portal. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about this in a minute, but it's the official state repository of publicly available electronic data. In other words, that portal allows you, our customers, to post electronic data out on that portal, thereby making it available to the general public. So under our data center services program, again, Capgemini is the overall program manager. SIAC is the vendor who holds the contract for just making sure that the state's data centers are kept safe. So that's their primary responsibility. So they're offering things like, doing active threat identifications, monitoring security incidents and event management, providing privileged access for those who need access to data center functions. So SIAC's main responsibility is just making sure that the state's data centers are kept safe. Deloitte has a contract available through this program for customers to use for things like technology planning services, solution consulting, and project delivery services through data center functions. They also have a contract available for application services through data center offerings, things like application development, maintenance, and support. Legacy modernization services if there are agencies or entities who've got outdated apps in the data center and they need to be brought to more modern standards. Staff aug services are also available through this program as well. Private cloud services, that vendor is Atos, providing private cloud functions to our eligible customers. So for example, we know that the storage for body cameras is unbelievably huge. It takes up a lot of space on our customer servers, and some customers don't have that space on their servers. This is where private cloud services can be a resource, because this program offers things like disaster recovery services for IT, backup as a service for IT, all available in a private cloud service. Public cloud services, that vendor is Rackspace. They offer Amazon Web Services, Azure, Google, Oracle Cloud Services. Email through Office 365 is also available through this program as well. Mainframe services, that vendor is Atos. Pretty self-explanatory. They offer mainframe support services for our customers who are utilizing mainframes in their IT worlds. And then we've got print mail functions available. That vendor is Xerox, offering managed print mail, bulk mailing services, mail digitization services, and document management systems as well. The Texas.gov portal. I'm sure many of you have been online to renew your auto registration. So that's the best example I can always give, because a lot of people use that for many different functions, but a majority of us use it to, buy a license or renew a license. There are basically two vendors who make Texas.gov run. One of them is Deloitte. So they're responsible for making sure that the website is up and running, that the applications are maintained and supported, that the portal is running. They handle the marketing and advertising for Texas.gov, providing identity solutions for you to set up accounts to do business with the state as well. So if you have been online to renew your auto registration, as you're clicking through those services you need on the Texas.gov portal, that part's all handled by Deloitte. But when you go to enter your credit card information to buy those services that you just purchased, that part is all handled by Tyler Technologies. So they handle payment processing, and then they make sure that those payments are compliant and that they are then routed to the appropriate accounting systems through the comptroller's office. The payment services portion also offers services to like local governments. If you need to put a payment portal out there for customers to pay bills through, things like that. So those types of services are also available through the Texas.gov portal. Managed security services are available through this program. The vendor providing those services is AT&T. They offer things like security monitoring, device management, managing firewalls, detection, intrusion detection, also incident responses, things like response preparedness services, forensic assessments, vulnerability, risk scans, things like that. You might remember that back in August of 2019, there were 23 counties in the state hit with ransomware, and it locked down their systems. But through this agreement, we were able to step in and help those counties get that ransomware removed from their systems. So we always encourage our customers to have this agreement in place with us, just in case you need it. You're never charged for any services unless you actually need them, because in the event of a ransomware attack, minutes, hours, and days count. They count. So if this agreement's on file with us and a customer has an attack, we can typically have boots on the ground within a couple of hours, helping to get that issue taken care of. So those are the types of managed security services that are available to our customers through this program. And then we've got the Open Data Portal. This is the official state repository of publicly available electronic data. And on the PDF version I shared with you all today, this link is live here on the PDF version. I'm going to give you a quick demo on how you can utilize that here in just a little bit. But what this portal is, this allows you, our customers, to post electronic data out on the Open Data Portal, thereby making it available to the general public. So whether a higher ed, local government, or a school district, or a state agency, there's many different categories available where you can post that electronic data out there and make it available to the general public. Typically, these are larger data sets, things like tax records, tax rolls, things like that. We, DIR, we post our cooperative contract sales data out on the Open Data Portal, and all the way to the current date under the business and economy section. So you can actually go out and see who's bought what through DIR's cooperative contracts for the last, 14 fiscal years now. When the Department of Agriculture started posting electronic data out here, they let us know that their public information requests dropped by 60%. So It's a good service for local govs and other eligible entities to post electronic data out there. We then manage that data for you. You don't have to manage it on your own systems. So those are some benefits of utilizing the open data portal through our shared technology services program. There are links on the DIR YouTube channel that you can access at your leisure that talk a little bit more about our data center services. I've also given you the main link to the DIR YouTube channel. There's other things out there you might find interesting, like how to write a statement of work, or other program areas that you can surf on the DIR YouTube channel. So our cooperative contracts program is probably the area where many of you are already familiar with DIR. This program allows you, our customers, to go directly to our DIR vendors where you can buy things like different types of hardware or commodity items, software as a service. There are technology training contracts available. That also includes instructor-led training. There are other technology services contracts available. It also includes our IT staffing services contracts. I'll talk a little bit more about those, as well as our deliverables-based IT or DBITS contracts. And then this is also where the bulk purchasing initiative lies at DIR. This is a kind of an offshoot of our cooperative contracts program. It's directly linked to that. And I'm not going to cover it today because the statement of work review and exemptions review, that does not apply to our customers who are with us today. That applies only to state agencies. So why use our cooperative contracts for your IT procurements? Well, first of all, they create savings because we leverage that state's buying power to negotiate the best prices and discounts that we can, excuse me, with the vendors who propose products and services to us. So we always contain best value in our negotiations. What's in the best value of our customers and of the state of Texas? And then again, it does give us that bulk purchasing initiative from time to time where we have that ability to run those Kmart blue light specials and offer certain IT products at deeper discounts for a short amount of time. It also the purchasing process for you, our customers, because we've already done a lot of that heavy lifting for you. We've and negotiated the master contracts and put in place for you to use. So that reduces any purchasing and contract cycle time, as well as any duplicate efforts, because now you might not have to do that RFP. So it also gives our customers access to do business with our hub vendors. We've got a large number of prime contract holders, as well as hub certified resellers who are eligible to, or who can sell through DIR prime vendor contracts. Then there's benefits for the vendors. One thing about our co-op program is that you don't issue the PO to us. You issue the PO directly to the DIR vendor, again, making sure that PO has that vendor's contract number noted on it. Then it's our vendors who turn around and report to us once a month what they're selling on their DIR contracts. So they report to us what they sold, who they sold it to, at what price they sold it at, if they utilized any resellers or subcontractors. It's on our vendors to report to us. It gives our vendors access to business with public entities, like state agencies, with local govs, with higher ed, with the school district. Last year, our cooperative contracts program in FY23 generated $3.39 billion in sales through our program last year. And this slide gives you an idea of what that spending breakdown looked like. State agencies made up about 28% of that spending. Now, keep in mind, statute, state agents are required to use DIR's cooperative contracts first for their IT procurements by statute. But you'll see that local govs and K through 12 made up about 58% of that spending in FY23. Now, part of that is because there's simply more local governments and school districts in Texas than there are state agencies. Higher ed made up about 15% of that spending. And then our assistance orgs and out-of-state customers made up about 3% of that spending in FY23. So that all generated down into about $400 million in savings to you, our customers, and to the state of Texas by buying IT products and services through our cooperative contracts. The other really cool thing is that of that spending, about 37% was spent with our hub vendors. That's awesome. That's a very high percentage of spending with our hub certified vendors. So we thank you for doing business with our hub vendors. So what types of commodity items are available through DIR's cooperative contracts? Well, all kinds of computers, laptops, desktops, tablets, the Microsoft Surface series, hundreds of different brands of software doing any number of functions. Things like networking equipment, printers and copiers, law enforcement type products like surveillance cameras, security products, body cameras, drones. I'm not going to read through the entire list, but you can get a good high level overview of the types of commodity items that are available through our DIR cooperative contracts. We've got a set of contracts that focus on classroom learning environments, hardware and software for classrooms and learning environments, projectors, copiers. We've recently started awarding artificial intelligence contracts. So some of those products are now available through DIR's contracts as well. There are also services-based contracts available for a wide variety of different IT services. That includes staffing services. I'll talk a little bit more about those next. There are technology-based training contracts that also includes instructor-led training. Things like seat management or end-user IT outsourcing. Things like cybersecurity services, web development. If you need to redo or upgrade your websites, we've got vendors who offer web development services. Cabling services. If you've got a new building and you need to run cables down the wall for phone and computer hookups. Also telecom products and services. That includes things like, what we've painfully become aware of, things like Zoom, WebEx. Also, interpreter services contracts are available, and I know many of you are using those interpreter services via phone or video. So we've got a large number of vendors who provide IT staffing services. Maybe you've got an IT need at your entity and you don't have somebody on staff to do that IT related work, or you need to bring in a contractor to do those IT related functions for you. We are currently in the process of refreshing this set of contracts at DIR. So the current set of IT staffing contracts is expiring. We did the RFO in 2023, and now we are awarding those replacement contracts for IT staffing right now. So this shows you some of the job categories that are available where you can bring IT related contractors in to do that work for you. There's also specialist areas available. If you need like a digital media specialist or a drone operator, those types of specialist areas are also included in our IT staffing vendor contracts. We do also have services-based contracts available. This is what we call our DBITS contracts or deliverables-based IT services. Keep in mind that these are service contracts that are project-based rather than product-based. So some of the categories available are things like if you need application development, maintenance, support, migration services, data management services, data warehousing, IT assessments and planning services. So these contracts work from a statement of work rather than a pricing index, because these are services-based contracts that work that are project-based rather than product-based. So going a little further into our bulk purchasing initiatives, these are the items that are available at deeper discounts as compared to the regular contracted rate. So if any of y'all need to do a computer refresh or buy computers right now, it's a good time to do it because we've got HP and Dell both offering pretty good discounts on computers and some peripherals. We've also got some Adobe software currently available on the DIR website. And then from time to time, we do offer, like security products and related services. So we don't have those available right now, but I've given you the link here to the DIR website. If you ever want to go out and see what we've currently got available on our bulk purchasing initiatives, you'll be able to see all the contract and pricing documents for the items that are currently available through our bulk purchasing initiative. The nice thing about the bulk purchasing initiatives is that there's no procurement thresholds that apply. So you can buy one item or you can buy 4,000 items if it's available on a bulk purchasing initiative. The other neat thing is that they're open to all of our eligible DIR customers. So whether you're a local gov or a state agency or a higher ed, you can use these anytime that they are in place. Okay. We also offer telecom services through our DIR contracts as well. And we basically do that in three ways. We manage the Capitol Complex telephone system. Again, that's for agencies in and around the Capitol Complex here in Austin. We also have our Texan contracts or Texas Agency Network contracts. Those offer things like voice services, local and long distance services, and also data offerings. That includes internet services where you can buy those services through our Texan contracts. Then there are other telecom services available through our Texan contracts. That includes things like cell phones, smartphones, data plans, conferencing services available for webcasting, audio and video conferencing through a telecom function. Other services include things like the IT infrastructure for call centers or contact service centers, phone management services for the PBXs that sit on our desks when we're working in the office. So again, just a wide variety of different telecom services are available through our telecom contracts as well. That also includes things like 911 support services that are available through telecom. So when your entity does use a DIR cooperative contract, you're going to see common elements that are associated with that vendor contract when you pull up that vendor's contract on the DIR website. That will include the contract document itself. That will also include any exceptions that were negotiated with that vendor at the time that that vendor contract was negotiated and awarded. You will see the Appendix A, standard terms and conditions that are specific to that DIR vendor contract. You will see the Appendix B as the hub subcontracting plan. Now that's going to tell you two things. A, it's going to tell you if the vendor is self-performing under the scope of their DIR contract. In other words, they're doing it all. They're providing the product and the supporting services like maintenance, installation, things like that. They're self-performing, they're doing it all. Or B, it will tell you if that DIR vendor is utilizing any resellers or subcontractors under the scope of their DIR contract. So keep in mind that vendors can update that hub form at any point during the term of their DIR contract. So they can add or remove resellers or subcontractors at any point during the term of their DIR contract. Your Appendix C will be a pricing index if it is a commodities-based contract. That's going to show you the brands available and the discount percent off of those brands. Or if it's a services-based contract, that Appendix C will be a statement of work template. So it's going to depend on the scope of the contract you're using, whether that Appendix C will be a pricing index or a statement of work template. Then you'll see any other appendices attached as they are needed. For example, you might see service agreements attached or lease agreements if they are available under the scope of that DIR contract. You might see a statement of work template attached for the service portion of a commodity that you might be buying. So you'll also see the attached request for offer. That is what DIR used to publicize out on the ESBD for vendor responses, and what that contract was then eventually negotiated and awarded under to that DIR vendor. You will also see any amendments that have been processed for that DIR vendor. So use that contract page to download all your contract documents that you will need in order to make that procurement through that DIR cooperative contract vendor. A couple of things to keep in mind about our cooperative contracts. First of all, remember that there is survivability built into our DIR contracts. So as long as you issue a PO to our vendors at any point before that DIR vendor contract expires with us, then survivability will allow it to play out in full. So for example, if you've got a 1 year initial term and three 1 year renewal options to award to a DIR co-op vendor, but you see on the website that that DIR vendor contract expires with us on December 1st and there are no renewal options remaining, it's okay. Survivability is going to allow your order to play out in full, even if the vendor contract expires with us. Just make sure you have it issued to the vendor before the contract expires, because we might be on the backside over here trying to negotiate a replacement contract with that vendor. But that replacement contract could have different pricing or different terms and conditions. Or the other possibility is maybe that vendor might not get a replacement contract, because sometimes negotiations can break down. So there is survivability built into our contracts that allows orders to play out even if the vendor contract expires with us. The big catch is make sure you get your PO issued to them before the contract expires with us. Also, be aware of any areas where vendors seek to vary from DIR's terms and conditions. We've already negotiated the T's and C's with the DIR vendor, so that part's already done. But you do have the ability to negotiate additional terms and conditions with our vendors, provided they don't conflict with or diminish DIR's contract terms. So if you've got HIPAA requirements or CGIS requirements, or you need additional acceptance criteria, you can negotiate those with our vendors, provided they don't, conflict or diminish our terms and conditions. If you ever have questions about that, it's good to maybe, if you've got resources, speak with your legal team, or because all of you have access to the terms and conditions for the DIR vendor contracts. Also remember that our contract terms have general priority over almost all other vendor documents. So if there are some exceptions for things like third-party licensing agreements that you may need to sign, things like that, those are pretty normal and standard. But if you're being asked to sign a form by a DIR vendor and you don't see it attached to their contract documents and you're just not sure if you should sign that form or not, reach out to your DIR contract manager for that vendor contract, because we can help answer those questions for you. Vendors should have routed all of their documents to us when we negotiated that contract. So it might be something simple like an order acknowledgement or something like that. But if you see that vendors are attempting to change the terms and conditions of their contract, you need to reach out to DIR. We can help answer those questions for you. Okay, I'm about halfway through. I've got let's just call it 2:45 on my clock. Why don't we take a little bit of a break here? The second half seems to go a little bit quicker. So let's come back, let's take a 10-minute break, and let's come back at 2:50. So about 11 minutes. Let's come back at 2:50. Lisa has a question. Will we be able to have a copy of this recording? I'll try to upload this to the DIR YouTube channel, Lisa. And when I can get that done, I can certainly share the link for that. So, all right. See ya at 2:50. 2:55. I'm sorry. It's 2:45. Let's take 10 minutes. 2:55. Let's come back at 2:55. All right, everybody back and ready to rock and roll. It's 2:55. I hope you're finding this information helpful. There is a question. Nellie asks, what's involved in getting a shared services agreement with DIR? Is there a charge for us for any of these services? So I can show you how to get those agreements in place with us, Nellie. On the pricing, yes, there are services that some are complimentary services, but a majority of them there are fees involved to utilize the shared technology services. So it's going to depend on what services you utilize through the shared technology services program, and what those fees are going to be. So I can certainly provide you with some additional information on how to onboard into the shared technology services program. There's not a fee to get the agreements in place with us. Typically, you're never charged for any of those services until you actually utilize those. So be glad to provide some additional information on how to get those services set up, Nellie. Okay, so rather than talk through the next few slides, what I'm going to do is, Hank, bear with me right here. I'm going to hop over here to the DIR website. I hope you can see the DIR website that I'm showing right now. Can you see it? If you can, raise your hand and you can see the DIR website. Okay, good. Thank you. So we redesigned the website in 2021, and for those of you who maybe have used the other site, it was a bit cumbersome. So what we attempted to do here was classify things a little bit better and making searching a little bit easier for both our customers and our vendor community. So couple of things you'll notice is that we put this banner on every DIR web page that you'll be on when you're utilizing the DIR website. You don't need a sign in or to register for DIR in order to search for contracts. The sign in box is usually for state agencies when they need to submit things to us through a portal. But our audience today we don't have any state agencies on with us today, but you've got options here if you want to look for some IT solutions and services. There are categories here that you can click on. If you want to see a list of our hardware contracts or our that we've awarded for hardware, you can click on that link and you can come down here and you can see our categories of hardware related RFOs that we have awarded contracts under. So let's just say you want to look at the law enforcement contracts that we've got in place. If you do that little drop down, this gives you an overview of that RFO and typically the products and services that were awarded under the scope of it. A lot of different things here that are available, but if you want to see the list of contract holders to that RFO, all you need to do is click on that link and voila, give it a second to work here. There are 31 contracts that we awarded to vendors under the scope of the law enforcement RFO. So you can search by categories. If you want to look at our mobile digital recordings, you can doggone it. There it is. So you can do the same thing here. You can get an idea of the types of things that are available on mobile digital, and you can click on the link to see the contracts that were awarded. But if you're on the home page, you can do that same thing with, like our software contracts. If you want to see software products and related services, the categories, like for cybersecurity, click on that link and pull up those contracts. But typically, if you're under IT solutions and services, you can click on those links. Oh, incidentally, over here on the right, there are services contracts available. So if you click on technology services, that'll show you the service categories that we've got available. But you've also got program areas. If you're looking for cooperative contracts or shared technology services, if you want more information on that program, this is where you can, Nellie, specific to your question, This is where you can find information on getting started and what services do you need. And so there's information available out there as well. You've also, if you're a data officer or you want telecom services, if you want to see what our Texan contracts, you can click on the telecom link, click on the Texan program, and here is a list of our data and voice contract holders. So if you need to order long distance services or internet services, that's where you can find our Texan contracts. You can also look for policy and guidance if you're looking for accessibility standards or maybe technology legislation, things like that. Depending on your entity type, you can also click on the IMA, and if you're a higher ed or school district or a local gov, you can be taken to pages based on your entity type that would be specific to, like a local government and things like that. We also got the search DIR function, and I use this every day. So if you need to search for a brand or keywords or a vendor or a category, you can also use the search DIR function. I typically don't use the all pages and content because it always brings back too many search results. So typically, like all of us, we're looking for contracts and vendors. And this is where you can type in, vendor names or brands. I'm going to work through a quick example here. Let's say you want to see what contracts are associated with the search term of Microsoft. So you can type in Microsoft, click search, and give it a minute to work. And you don't really want all results because that's bringing back 123 results. You're typically looking for contracts that are associated with the search criteria you put in. So I'm going to click contracts, and that's going to take me down to about 31 search results. And that's pretty good. So that kind of narrowed down my search criteria. Then you can further down select here if you want to look for certain products or categories. If you're looking for accessibility or break fix services or cabling services, these are our categories that are available. Or you can also look for brands. If you click here, you can scroll down and you can see all the different kinds of brands that are associated with our DIR contracts as well. So you can also search by hub types. If you're looking for certain hub vendors, you can further down select, and for your procurement folks, you can also search by commodity codes that may be associated with the type of procurement you're doing. So those are ways to search here. You can also download your search criteria right here. So in my example, I'm looking for Microsoft contracts. I want to make sure I'm on the contract and vendor results. And then I want to further narrow down in contracts. So I can download those search results into an Excel spreadsheet. So I click download results. I'm going to give that just a second to work. And then I want to download that file. Give me just 1 second here. And here is what that search criteria looks like. So it shows you the vendor name, the contract number. I don't really take this all the way out because it's a really long column, but it gives you a brief overview of the contract. It also gives you the DIR contact manager for that vendor contract. It shows you the term end date. That's not the contract expiration date. That is simply the current term date. There may be renewal options remaining, there may not, but this shows you the current term end date. It also shows you if that vendor is a hub or a non-hub, and it gives you all kinds of contact information for that vendor as well. Now, you'll notice here that Microsoft Corporation Contract 4471 is listed multiple times. That's because over here in column K, there are resellers associated with that contract. So you're going to want to reach out to the resellers under contract 4471 for any pricing that you might want for that vendor contract. This column here, you can change. That should be a number, and you can change that to a number by doing this, and that shows you the vendor ID number. It also shows you if the reseller is a hub or a non-hub, and then reseller contact information. So this spreadsheet is a good way to come in, and if you maybe want to just pull up some email addresses, you'll see here that these contracts are only listed one time. That's because there are no resellers associated with that DIR vendor contract. So you want to go to the prime vendor to get any pricing that you may need, that you may be looking for. So this is a good way to kind of look at the data and capture some data, give you some contact information, and is a good resource for you. So you can also come over here and let's say I want to look for the Microsoft Surface Pro. I need to order 3 Microsoft Surface Pro. I'm going to cheat a little bit here because I used to manage this contract back in the day, and I know that this is the contract that offers the Surface series. So I'm going to click on the contract number here. And this is the vendor homepage for the Microsoft contract. You've got vendor contact information. You've got DIR contact information if you need to reach out to us for questions on this. But what this gives you is kind of an overview of the contract. So this contract offers the Microsoft Surface products. Good, that's what I'm looking for. You can see the commodity codes that are associated with this contract. You can see the brands that are available through this contract. You can also, here's where you can view the contract documents that I showed you on that slide earlier. Here's the contract, the T's and C's, their hub plan, their pricing index. You can also get additional information on who the resellers are that are associated with this vendor contract. So again, use this link. You'd probably want to go to the resellers for any pricing information on this contract to get what you need. Also know that each vendor is required to keep a website specific to their contract. So if you click on that website link, this page is specific to the vendor and what they're offering through their DIR contract. Now, you should be able on a commodities contract to view a pricing list. So if you want to see what their price list is here, I'm going to click on that link and I'm going to open the spreadsheet. And ta-da! Here is the pricing list for contract 4471, and you can see what their offerings are. You can see their MSRP, their discount percent off of MSRP, and the DIR price to you. There's also a tab down here for education pricing. So if you're a school district or higher ed and you want the education pricing for these items, this is where you can information. So that's where you can typically find price lists for DIR vendors. I can also do the same thing. So I looked for kind of a manufacturer there that I was looking for. I can come over here and I can do the same thing for like Adobe. So let's say I'm looking for Adobe and I want to see what contracts are associated with the search term Adobe. I'm going to click on contracts because that's what I'm looking for. And here are the contracts associated with the search criteria of Adobe. I can also further down select here, and I'm going to do that real quick. And I'm going to come down here and I'm going to look for Adobe. And I'm going to select that, give it a second to work. So that narrowed my search down to 6 contracts. So let's say that I want to look at journeyed.com and I want to see what their contract for Adobe is all about. Gives me an overview. Looks like the brands are Adobe, Nuance, and they're also a reseller for the Microsoft hardware products. So that's interesting. Here's where you can find the commodity codes, the brands that are available under that vendor contract. your contract documents. This is just a brief review on how to order, and then you can see if there are resellers associated with that vendor. Okay, so, okay, this looks good. I want to see what their contract offers up for Adobe. So I'm going to click on that vendor link. And this kind of gives me some information about the contract. And I want to look at their offerings and discounts. So I can see here that they offer Adobe Acrobat at 5%, Nuance at 8%, and they offer the Microsoft Surface products at 16%. Now I want to look at their Adobe price list. So I'm going to click on their price list. I'm going to open that. And voila. Here is journeyed.com's price list for the Adobe products that they are offering. You can see their list price and their DIR admin fee price included in. And so you can scroll through this, but this is good reference material for anything that you may be looking to buy. And you can see all the items that they offer under Adobe for this contract. So that kind of gives you an overview of how to search, how to find pricing. Now, keep in mind that if it's a services-based contract, you won't see a price list, because if it's a statement of work base, those services are negotiated with the vendor. So keep in mind that just depending on the scope, you may not see pricing or a price list available, particularly if it is a service-based contract like our DBITS contracts or things like that. So I also wanted to show you real quick here. I'd shown you the link to the open data portal. So that website is data.texas.gov. And this is where you can come out and research your entities and look for maybe a history of things that you may have bought through the DIR cooperative contracts. We post our sales data under the Business and Economy tab. And this is public information. I'm not showing you anything confidential. And this link right here is the official DIR cooperative contract sales data from FY10 to the present date. So this was last updated just a couple of weeks ago on August 12th. I'm going to click on that link right there. And what I'm looking for, I've kind of, okay, this kind of just gives you an overview of what this page is all about. I want to see the data. So I'm going to click on data, and then you can start to see who all of our customers are and their spending for the last 14 fiscal years. You can also come over here under actions, and you can query this data and kind of center down into finding your entity and your spending over the years. And you can filter that data by a number of different things here. Now, keep in mind, this is a large data set, so it may take a little bit to get this data to pull up. But let's say I want to look, I'm going to filter by customer name, and I want this to contain, let's see, who can I pick on today? Well, not pick on, but let's say I want to type in the word Dawson. I'm going to type that in there, and I'm going to hit return. And then I'm going to come down here and I'm going to apply that filter. And you'll see it's still working here. It's gathering data. Aha. So now this gives me an idea that Dawson County, Dawson ISD, they go back to 2011. So you can see that they've spent under like Dell and HP and other, Canon contracts for printers, maybe, software products or related services. So this is where you can go see your entity spending. I will warn you that these are not just total purchase amounts. This column here is itemized invoice amounts, because you may have one PO, but invoice against it many different times. So when vendors report to us, they itemize out the invoice amounts. But you can see the contract number, and these, again, this is data from a long time ago. These contracts have now expired and they've got new ones. But this is where you can go out and see your spending through DIR's cooperative contracts. I can also come back down here in the customer name, and if I want to type in, I'm just going to type in Hector. going to apply that filter. So you can see here, there's Ector ISD, there's Ector Hospital District, Ector ISD. I want to go to the next, and doggone it, this should go back to the top, but sometimes you need to scroll out or scroll up. Ector ISD, I think I saw some Ector County in here, and you can see, you can see the spending here. I can do the same thing with if I type in the word Midland. So going to the top of this data, there's the city of Midland, Midland ISD, Midland County, Midland ECD, city of Midland. So Midland Hospital. So this is where you can go look at your spending, at your history through DIR. You can also add filters here if you want to look for, just the fiscal year of is, and let's just say I want to pull up 2021. So this is all words, with the word Midland attached for spending for FY21. I'll caution you that the state fiscal year is what this is based on. So it's September 1 through August 31st of any fiscal year. Okay, so anyway, that's a quick demo on the Texas Open Data Portal. Feel free to access that and use that at any price or for any information that you want to research based on your entity and see your spending for the last 14 fiscal years. Okay, Lisa has a question. Do all vendors have the same DIR price, or is all DIR price different? How do I tell what vendor has the cheapest price? Well, if we have vendors, let's say we have 3 or 4 different vendors that offer the Adobe brand, you're going to have to pull up each one of those contracts, Lisa, and look and see what the percent discount is, and then reach out to them for pricing, because it could be that we don't negotiate really a set price with a vendor. When we negotiate our co-op contracts, we negotiate a percent discount off of MSRP, because we know that MSRPs can change, whether it's on hardware items or software items. So under our cooperative contracts for commodities, we typically negotiate a percent discount off of MSRP. When we evaluate those proposals or when we're negotiating those vendor contracts, they have to fall within a certain competitive range. So if we get 14 vendors proposing Adobe products to us, some are offering 2% off of MSRP and some are offering 15% of MSRP. You're going to want to look for those vendors and then reach out to see what their discounts are and what price that they will offer you. So we kind of build competition into our cooperative contracts program that then allows you, our customers, to negotiate better pricing. So our vendors are contractually required to sell at a discount percent off of MSRP or better. You can negotiate better pricing with our vendors under our cooperative contracts program. So I hope that provides a little bit of information to you and gives you a little bit of insight. But yeah, if we've got 4 vendors that offer Adobe products, I'm gonna encourage you to reach out to all 4 of those vendors, look at what they offer and what their pricing discounts are, and ask for better pricing. The worst they can say is no. Same thing with like security products. We've got a large number of security vendors who offer like the Fire Stick brand or XYZ brand, or if there are 4 or 5 vendors that offer that brand, reach out to all 5 of them and see what their pricing schedules are. Okay, hang on here. I'm going to pop back over to my presentation. Okay, so I've given you a demo on the DIR website, and these are things that I just worked through, gave you the example of how to down select, how to download the spreadsheet. So let's talk about statements of work for a minute. Some of our DIR contracts do require a statement of work because they are project-based rather than product-based. So those scopes of DIR contracts are typically our deliverables-based IT services or DBITS contracts, our seat management or end user IT outsourcing, IT security services, cloud services if you are executing a statement of work, also comprehensive web development, document imaging and enterprise content management. And then if you're doing complex services, maybe you're customizing and integrating, you've got an overall solution, we encourage you to use a statement of work to help define that project as well. So just keep that in mind that there are certain scopes of DIR contracts that work from a statement of work. Also, as a brief reminder, state agencies, and we don't have any state agencies on with us today. If they're using one of these scopes of contracts and their statement of work is over 50,000 in value, they have to submit that to us for review. That does not apply though to our local govs, K through 12, higher ed, or any of our other DIR customers. So that rule only applies to state agencies. It does not apply to our other eligible customers. There are templates for statements of work available on the DIR website and also under the scope of contract documents for those contracts that work from a statement of work. They offer both waterfall and agile type methodologies, and I'm going to talk about those here in just a minute. So when you're writing a statement of work, whether that's for an IT project, which is what I'm going to focus this on, but other projects you work on at your entities may also require a statement of work before you do that procurement. You need to define the need in that statement of work. What are we trying to accomplish here? What do we need to do with this project? Also, use the project approach rather than the task approach. Because a statement of work typically involves many different types of departments at your entities, and it does become a project rather than just a task. So you're going to have to develop those statement of work, elements that are going to be necessary to manage that contract with that vendor who's going to be doing the work for you. Getting that scope involves things like getting the stakeholder engagement. You might need to include many different players when you're writing a statement of work, like procurement and contracts, subject matter experts, maybe legal, your IT departments, security standards, things like that. So getting that team collaboration is going to help build that document. And that's also going to help measure on how it's going to be executed, analyzed, and managed throughout the term of your agreement with that vendor who's doing the project or the work for you. Part of that is using SMART goals. Make sure they're specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely. A couple of quick examples. A SMART goal is to grow online registration by 5% by fiscal year end. Bam, you've put some definition to it. A goal is maximizing a potential of agency website traffic. Yes, that's a goal, of course it is, but it's not really measurable. Another example, to reduce licensure wait time to less than 2 minutes by the end of June. That's a good measurable goal. To double our capacity to deliver benefit disbursements by November 1st. So those are good, smart, measurable goals to work into your scopes and your statements of work when you are putting the definitions together. And when you develop that statement of work, some things to ask are, is this going to be agile or waterfall? Agile is used for more broad, flexible type projects, where waterfall is a very structured, known outcome. Who needs to be on the team to make this succeed? Who are the players? Who's going to help us define what needs to get done? Part of that is, what risks can we identify, and do we have ways to mitigate them? And then how are we going to measure the success of this project? So those are all key points that you need to keep in mind when you are developing a statement of work. What methodology best supports it? Well, like I'd mentioned, waterfall works well with projects that have that assured predictability. You know what the outcome is going to be. It's a very structured, known outcome. Agile is used for things that require things like development, software design, offers a little more flexibility. Or you might use a combination of both or WAGILE. It's a combined approach of both waterfall and agile. Some things to consider when you're writing a statement of work is some elements to include are what's the scope of the project? What are we trying to accomplish here? What's our goal to get this project done? What are the roles and responsibilities of everyone involved? Everybody know their responsibilities. What are the deliverables needing to be? Where do we need to be throughout the course of this project? What's the period of performance that we need or the schedule? How long is it going to take to get this project done? Do you need to consider any service levels? Have you defined your acceptance criteria? Have you included pricing and payment schedules or milestones along the way where you know where you need to be in those milestones? And what about assumptions? Take those into consideration. If we assume something, do we have a plan in place to mitigate those assumptions, or did we miss something? Are we assuming this is going to happen, but we didn't define it in the role of the contractor doing the work or of the vendor doing the work? Also, other things to consider when you write an IT statement of work. Do you need to include any security standards? What about accessibility standards, especially when you're redoing or upgrading your websites? Are there, accessibility standards that you need to meet? Give an introduction and a background. Tell vendors why you're doing this project. These were our previous heartaches or our previous obstacles. Give a background and an introduction as to why you're doing this project. Also, you'll need to evaluate the response and submission requirements. Make sure that criteria is spelled out for vendors. Maybe you need, additional T's and C's to negotiate outside the DIR contract. Maybe you need a transition plan. If you've got a vendor currently doing the work, but you're going to transition to a new vendor, have a transition plan in place. Other things to consider: who's going to host data? Where is that data going to reside? Is it going to reside on your servers? Are you going to need a data center to host that data? Do you have a disaster recovery plan? What happens if a storm comes through or a natural disaster happens? Where's that data going to lie? Are you going to give it to one vendor, or are you going to make it a multiple vendor awards? And then, of course, making sure that the vendor meets the eligibility requirements and that they are actually qualified to do the work that you're needing done. There are links on the DIR webpage. I've given you our statement of work page. Our deliverables-based IT contracts are a great resource. Legacy modernization strategies, accessibility standards. We all work in some form of government or another. It's important that our websites are accessible for the hearing and sight impaired. So if you need accessibility standards and how those apply, and also security. If you need security standards, we've got resources available for you there as well. If you have questions about how to write a statement of work, feel free to reach out to our SOW team. They're more than happy to provide any additional input or resources you may need. Then when you do award that cooperative contract vendor a contract, it's you, the purchasing entity, that is responsible for managing that agreement with that DIR vendor through the DIR master contract, making sure the vendor is compliant with the requirements as set forth in their contract, reviewing those schedules and milestones, making sure that those are spelled out. You are then responsible for managing vendor performance when using that DIR co-op contract, and also ensuring that the vendor staff is trained and they may have taken any required cybersecurity training. I'll talk about those here in just a minute. So after the award, the focus turns to managing that contract and things with, in accordance with things like the defined scope. Again, is that clearly defined? Does everybody know what we're trying to do here? Is the acceptance criteria at an agreed to price? Have those details been worked out? Everybody know what the specified milestones are? Do we know where we need to be in this project? And like I said, for agile type projects, you might have many people involved from planning all the way up to user acceptance and testing. It's important to have a kickoff meeting when you meet with that vendor to award a contract, making sure that everybody knows what the goals and the expected results of the project are. of what the performance requirements are, defining the team. Everybody knows the roles and responsibilities. Clarifying any escalation processes. And it's important to have an escalation process in place in case something does need to escalate. If you start seeing vendor performance issues early, it's better to address those early before they mushroom into something that becomes a little bit harder to manage. So, making sure that you're reviewing the schedule at that kickoff meeting and everybody knows where we need to be and when this project needs to get done. Also important to review deliverables, things like status reports. Are those being submitted and are they spelled out to be submitted? Again, have a disaster recovery plan in place so you don't lose data. Making sure you're testing things like if you're building a new database and you need this database is doing what we need it to do. So documenting those test results. And again, we talked about accessibility, making sure your accessibility standards are being met or any waivers that need to be completed. Also accepting, the acceptance criteria, making sure you're monitoring that for compliance, whether it's a product or a service. Don't just check the box, make sure you're reading the deliverable and getting what you need. Also identifying any areas of risk. We're human beings. We can't possibly identify 100% of every risk that could occur with a project, but we've got to do our due diligence. Also identifying any outstanding items that we might have missed in our original risk assessments. Part of that is knowing the difference between a risk and an issue. A risk is something that could happen. An issue is a risk that has happened. For example, a risk would be we could have a cybersecurity attack. An issue is, oh no, we've had a cybersecurity attack. What do we do? So it's important to have mitigation plans for each one of those identified risks as well. Then, of course, communicating all of those risks with stakeholders is equally as important, keeping everybody informed. Checking quality, make sure you're measuring that quality against the acceptance criteria, that you're identifying items that are not in compliance and you have plans in place with that vendor or contractor to bring those items into compliance. Don't accept things that don't meet the requirements and the quality that you expect. Also checking budgets, tracking deliverables to milestones for payment points, making sure that those are spelled out. You're checking invoices for correctness and they're being submitted timely. Just knowing what you're paying for and ensuring you're getting it. And of course, well, change orders. We all know that everything goes 100% as planned on schedule. So why need a change order? Well, yeah, right. Having change order plans in place and knowing when those are needed is important too. So there are also hub opportunities available on DIR's contracts. Some of you may follow a hub program. Some of you may prefer to do business with our hub vendors, but there are hub opportunities available through DIR's contracts. And it's important that your institution keeps a copy of that most current hub subcontracting plan in your file, because again, vendors can update those at any point. They can add or remove resellers or subcontractors if they are subcontracting, or they were self-performed under the scope of their contract. If you have a hub coordinator at your entity, make sure that they're involved early, because they need to seek clarification on any dollar amounts or percentages used. Now, vendors are required to submit a monthly progress assessment report to you and to DIR. That usually comes at invoice time, and it's important that you review that. And if you have a hub coordinator, make sure that that hub coordinator gets a copy of that PAR report as well. Reminder that any subcontractors not on the contract's hub service, hub subcontracting plan do need to be added before they can be utilized. And just FYI, we're a state agency, so we follow the comptroller's hub goals. For our contracts for other services, it's 26%, and for commodity items, that goal is 21.1%. You can also reach out to our hub team if you have any questions about the plan or how hub opportunities are utilized. It is always Appendix B on any DIR cooperative contract vendor page. If you don't see it listed there, just reach out to us. We can help track that down for you. Maybe one's currently being updated and hasn't been uploaded yet, or maybe it's a new contract and hasn't been uploaded yet. There is wording in our terms and conditions of our Appendix A that vendors are aware that they need to follow certain reporting requirements to you, our customers. And part of that is that progress assessment report or that PAR plan. So if you do get a progress assessment report and you're seeing that their vendor is using a subcontractor that is not on the approved hub subcontracting plan, it's important to stop work and stop payment with that vendor because they are not compliant under the scope of their DIR contract. They need to reach out to DIR to bring their hub form into compliance before any work or payments can continue with that vendor. If you have any questions about Hub, feel free to reach out to our team. Great group of people here, very knowledgeable and resourceful in helping you answer any of your Hub questions. A couple of quick things about cybersecurity training, and this affects all of us who work in government. So you probably get your emails now. It's time for your training. It's time for your training. It's Government Code 2054.519 that is the state cybersecurity training program. And that required DIR to work in consultation with the Texas Cybersecurity Council. And we had to certify at least 5 cybersecurity training programs. We have many more than that available, but we have to have 5. This applies to all of us who work in state and local government, institutions of higher ed, school districts to a certain degree, but also to state contractors. And this went into effect immediately in June of 2019. What this rule basically said is if contractors have access to state computer systems or databases, they are required to complete a certified training program and give those completed results to you. There's additional information on the cybersecurity training program available on the DIR website. So I've given you the link here and you can access that at your convenience. And did you know there are also cybersecurity resources available to you, our eligible customers? There's a grant program available that's being administered by DIR and the Office of the Governor. You can reference the DIR website for more information on that. There's a forum available for local governments, agencies, higher ed, and the private sector to share information regarding about threats and best practices, remediation strategies. I've given you the link here. We've also got our CERT, Cyber Incident Response Team, available for state and local governments who are experiencing a cyber incident. So feel free to use that toll-free number as a resource. And then there's also volunteer opportunities available across Texas to provide, public entities its response assistance. And there's information available on the DIR website on that program as well. And of course, you can always contact our security team if you do have questions about cybersecurity. We have regional security operations centers that we partner with institutions of higher ed to help secure local government entities from cybersecurity threats. We have an agreement in place with Angelo State University. That was the first RSOC. We are working to put another in place with UT Austin and also UT Rio Grande Valley. There are law enforcement resources available that can equip local law enforcement with knowledge necessary to respond and recognize cybersecurity crimes that they may need to investigate. We also have our CyberStar certificate program that recognizes public and private entities that implement the best practices for cybersecurity. And then, of course, we've got our regional mutual aid framework that helps local governments establish regional cybersecurity working groups for sharing data and sharing information. And you can access that document on the DIR website. And again, at any time, feel free to reach out to our security team for questions that you have about cybersecurity. We have some higher ed on with us today, so I need to cover this slide. This does not apply to our local government customers or school districts, but 2 legislative sessions ago, Texas Senate Bill 475 defined a need for a Texas Risk and Authorization Management Program, or TexRAMP. And what this bill basically said is this: if you're a state agency, an institution of higher ed, or a public junior college, and you are using cloud services, you are required to utilize TexRAMP certified cloud products and services. So if you're a local gov and this rule does not specifically apply to you, but if you want to know and you want to use TexRAMP certified cloud services, you've got access to that list as well. The program manual is available on the DIR website, as well as the current list of certified products and services. And that list is continually updated every time we certify TexRAMP products and services. This was effective January 1, again, for state agencies, higher ed, and junior colleges. We posted the associated Texas administrative codes as they apply to higher ed and state agencies. And of course, if you have any questions about the TexRAMP program, you can reach out to our TexRAMP team. But again, if you're a local gov, this rule does not require you to use TexRAMP certified cloud services, but you've got access to that list if you want to use those services. Okay, going to wrap up and leave you with some resources. Again, I hope you found the webinar helpful today. When it comes to IT procurements, you've got choices with DIR. You can do it yourself through our cooperative contracts program and go buy it yourself and deal directly with our vendors, or you can consider the services available through our shared technology services program, including data center, maybe Texas.gov payment services. Utilize that open data portal that I gave you the demo on, and we've got those managed security services. For our cooperative contracts, you don't need to have an agreement in place with DIR to utilize that program. If you're an eligible DIR customer, you don't need to have an agreement to use our co-op contracts. You then order directly from our vendors and you manage that agreement with that DIR co-op vendor. But under shared technology services, you do need to have agreements on place with us, but you place your order through the portal, you tell us the service you need, and then we go get that service done for you on your behalf. And again, all of our contracts are competitively bid, and we follow the legislative requirements as set forth by the Texas legislature. There's information for vendors on the DIR website as well. I'm sure a lot of you talk to technology vendors and you ask them, do you have a contract? And they say, no, how do I get one? This is where you can refer them to the DIR website. It's under selling through vendors. And once vendors go onto that page, they're taken to a couple of links that they can read about how to do business with DIR. They can see our schedule of solicitation opportunities, which is our procurement schedule that vendors need to watch. And then they can also register if they're a hub certified business. There is a link to the comptroller site on how to register as a hub vendor with the state of Texas. So on that page, they can read about how to become a prime vendor, how to become a reseller under a prime vendor's contract, or how they can become a subcontractor for an existing DIR prime vendor as well. You and our vendors can always view our schedule of solicitation opportunities, and I've given you the link to the DIR website. What that link shows you is our procurement schedule for the upcoming year. So what we've got in the planning stage, those are ones that are just kind of sitting in the hopper that are eventually going to move forward. Then it moves forward to the pre-solicitation phase. That means it's actually moving forward and it's going to be posting in the near future. You can also see, and vendors can see, what we've currently posted. Those are hot on the street and they're also posted to the electronic state business daily. Those are open for vendor responses. Then they can also see what is closed and we're currently evaluating and negotiating. So you can reference that our schedule of solicitation opportunities at any time. We usually update that page every September. So with our fiscal year starting on September 1, we're going to be updating that page throughout the month of September. Utilize the DIR website. There are FAQs out there when it comes to IT procurements or legislative things or cybersecurity things. We offer webinars. There are statement of work templates available. If you see something in the marketplace that we don't have available through a DIR contract, fill out that request for technology products and services form, because chances are if you're looking for it, someone else is looking for it too. So we look at those as they're submitted. Use the open data portal. Go see who's buying what on our co-op contracts and what they're buying and what vendors they're using. Use your DIR contract manager. We're all intimately familiar with these contracts, so we can be resourceful as well. You can also sign up for customer newsletters on the DIR website. We've got customer newsletters, we've got training newsletters, we've got cybersecurity newsletters, all kinds of different resources you can sign up for. And if you go to the bottom of the DIR homepage, if you scroll down, there's 4 blue boxes, and when you want to click on is sign up for communications. And once you click on that box, there's a number of different things. This is just a screenshot. This isn't all of them. But we've taken this one down temporarily because we're redoing the IT sourcing newsletter. That'll show up again soon, hopefully. But there's information, on project management or training opportunities. So you can sign up for communications through DIR as well. So with that, about 15 minutes early, we ended a little early, yay. Are there any questions before we log off for today? Again, I hope you found this helpful. I know many of you do use DIR. Some of you want to use DIR. Let us know if you have any questions or can be a resource to you. Lisa and Lynn are our chief procurement officers. Teresa is our hub director. I've been around the agency a long time and I know some stuff. And Clarissa is our contract management director as well. So thank you for joining us today. You've got our contact information. Let us know how we can make your IT lives easier, because we're always willing to help. And as a state agency, servicing our customers for IT is our main goal, and keeping the state safe. So thank you, Lisa. I appreciate that. Nellie, great, good. Thank you for that compliment. I really appreciate that. And again, I can work with you on some additional shared technology services questions if you have those. But if not, you guys, thank you very much for your time today. You've got the slide deck. And Lisa, I'll also follow up on, I think actually, now that I think through it, we have posted a video from one of these previously. It's the same information, but if I can find that link, I'll definitely share that with you all if you want to see a video recording. Y'all have a great rest of your day. Happy Thursday. Tomorrow's Friday. Have a great weekend. See y'all.